So we've seen the while loop, we've seen the do while, we've seen the for loops, and we've seen the for each as well. Now another thing you can do, although this is more advanced stuff and this is more going into Java 8's functional programming, but I'll just show you here to give you a taste of that, although we don't cover it explicitly in this course. Another thing you can do is you can use the streams API. So suppose I have this list here. What I could do is I could say foods and now call this method .stream, and what that does is that gives me a so-called stream of this list. And what a stream is, it's basically an object that's constantly going to give us kind of like feed us elements off of this list. And once you have a stream, you can call any of these methods on it here, which can be pretty useful. So for example, we might decide that we want to go through this list of foods and we want to map them, and then we could put in here a so-called lambda expression to do that. So we can have f, or food rather, and then just convert that to food dot to uppercase. And that still returns a stream, because the nice thing about the streams API is that you can keep transforming this set of elements when you're establishing a so-called pipeline, which is what we're doing here. So we could do, for example, another map operation if we wanted to, or we could choose to filter the foods to only give us rice-based dishes, for example. So we could say filter food dot contains, of course it's uppercase now, so we say rice, that kind of thing. And at the end, we can collect those, which means just to group them all together and to get the final result. And we could collect them into a set, and that would give us a set of strings, which are our filtered foods. So this might look quite complex, and it is at first sight. It's not really for a beginner's course, to be honest, but it's just to give you a flavour of what's possible. And also what would be nice is if you basically split it up so you can see what's happening more by putting a bit of white space here. So we can say filtered foods equals foods.stream to get a stream out of it, then map the food to its uppercase version, and then filter to just give us foods which have rice in the titles, and then finally collect them into a set. And this is very idiomatic. It's a very kind of common way in more modern Java, like the advanced stuff basically, to do things like process lists and sets and that kind of thing. So then if we print out what's there, filtered foods, we'd end up with a set of just this mushroom rice, which would be in capitals. So if we do Control-Shift-R to run that, you can see here, filtered foods equals mushroom rice. Now the syntax of this is going to look quite strange and not feel that familiar with you, mainly because we're kind of like chaining these calls together, which you haven't seen before. But you can do that if a method returns an object which another method then wants to take, which also returns that object, and you can kind of do this sort of chaining thing here. So map takes a stream, but it also returns a stream, and because it returns a stream, it means we can do any of those operations which are defined on stream. We can do them one after the other without having to put them into an intermediate variable or anything, which is really useful. Another aspect to this which might seem complex is this kind of syntax here. This is called, and this one here, this is called a lambda expression, and a lambda expression basically is kind of, just think of it for now as like a snippet of code which you can just pass around in certain places without having to enclose it in a method or enclose it in a class with a method. But yeah, that just gives you a taste of the streams API as well, and how you can also do looping with collections and do a bit of mapping and filtering as well.